Hey everybody, welcome to our virtual studio today where I'm talking to Pieter de Beer, the Head of Marketing at the ULA, the United Liberty Alliance. Goeiedag allemaal, welkom by ons atelier hierso, die virtual atelier. En ek gesels weer met Pieter de Beer, die bemarkingsbestuurder by die Verenigde Vryheidsalliansie. Peter, it is often said that the ULA secession process and the proposed formation of the federal states within the new country is actually promoting racial segregation, or shall we say, a reinvention of apartheid, and that the citizenship is going to be race-based. Okay, we're hearing this quite a bit. Do these statements hold any truth? And why are they actually saying that?
Hello, Brett. Thanks for the opportunity again to have a chat. It's always good, and it also makes the the gray matter juices flowing. So
absolutely.
Yeah, I know I've heard this assumption or accusation, or that we've been receiving a few times over the past period, where people state, that the process that we're following is, as you said, it's promoting, again, segregation of people and races, and it's racist, and all these comments. But, we need to step back a bit and say, listen, any process that you follow regarding secession has to start somewhere, just like any legal process. If you want to make a case against your employer or your neighbor, or for whatever reason, you need, that legal representative of yours, he's got to go and consult the applicable laws pertaining to that case.
Right.
So, and we know that in a court, what really happens is that case is argued. In other words, I would almost say, the lawyer that has prepared the best and knows what he's talking about and knows where all these different laws fit into each other and actually build the case, he's going to be the guy that wins the case. That's as simple as that. If he knows what he's talking about, he's going to be a proper legal representative for you and win that case for you. And it's nothing different with the laws that we are following as the ULA. So we have to start with this. I know we're talking about the assumptions that we are trying to propagate segregation, but we actually should start at the law side to see where actually did the ULA come from with this process. And it starts with, first of all, even with South African law, because that's where you have to start. And look at if there is provision made in the Constitution, which it is. And we're not going to go into the details, but we all know about Article 235 by now. That is actually, when it was written, I don't know if it was done on purpose, but it was written so it sort of did not, make a conclusive statement as to, yes, there must be, provision made along these lines to allow for self-determination. So it left sort of an open door, like a statement not made in full. And that's why when the Afrikaner Accord was secured as an international agreement, by the way, it wasn't just a local thing, it was an internationally acknowledged agreement that there will be provision made for self-determination for, at that point, the Afrikaner. But it applied in the same sense for any minority. So, that's where we really start, and not even 235 is actually what we apply, because that is just to state that, yes, there is provision. There's no prohibition for secession like happened in Catalonia, for instance, where they were actually prohibited from even attempting secession. And for some unknown reason, they just went ahead and they wanted to call referendums and left, right, and center to claim independence, which is dangerous because there was not the proper process followed. So starting with the law, and then going into international law, what the provision is there. And again, I'm not going to go into all of those, but Article 1 of the International Covenant of Civil and Political Rights, Article 20 of the African Charter, the Banjul Charter as we know it, United Nations Declaration of the Rights of Indigenous People, and listen to the wording, indigenous people. And so we can go on, apart from that, there's a lot, really. I've done a lot of research, and you can go and look at actually studies that were done on secession, which is very, very helpful if you really want to understand secession. So I know I'm sort of taking a couple of steps back to what you were asking, but just to give the background, and you can go and read Dr. Peter Hilpold, Marika Ruiz, that was from South Africa, a very, very knowledgeable and respected person. And then somebody like Dr. I think it's not a doctor, James Crawford, and so on. I don't want to name all of them. Some of those names are difficult to pronounce when we talk about the Kosovonians, or how do we, people from Kosovo, Miljovic and Arctic and all of those names. Anyway, so, it's been proven throughout all these studies, so all the laws that were declared, the agreements made, a lot of these were made with the United Nations as the mediating body on behalf of all the countries to prepare, or to protect rather, people. Now you can go and look at it was for the protection of the people's rights, and I want to almost underline that. That's where I want to get to. So it was never mentioned in any of those laws that it's the civil and political rights of an area, or it's the rights for the area, the Declaration of Rights for a specific area. It always
the geographical area.
Yeah. So
okay.
So what that points very, very clearly is that everything in terms of a secession process starts with identifying the people, because that's where the problem lies. People need to be freed. And now, nowadays we hear about, for instance, the Cape Independence movement and calling a referendum for an area. And that's where there's a problem. Immediately there's a problem, because all these laws point to the rights of indigenous people. Sometimes it names, or people with a specific culture, identifiable, unique culture, religion, that they share as a common denominator. So that is where the starting point is for any legal secession. Now we're getting back to what the question was, which was, why is it said that the process we follow is propagating segregation and apartheid? Now, if that is the case, then all international law did was actually saying to people like the Kosovo people, you are actually racist because you are breaking away from another group. What gives you the right? Whereas in international law, that is exactly the right of a specific culture, specific group of people that are sharing either one of those, as we know very well by now, either their ethnicity, their culture, their language, or religion. Based on those, you will identify the people that international law is talking about. Now, if we have identified exactly as the law states, how can that be, a racial thing or a segregation thing? Because there's nothing that is, people are trying to put a label on something as soon as it's not all-inclusive, and now the game that is played typically in the Western Cape drive for the Western Cape independence not the people, the area. It is all inclusive. So my question would be, and I know I'm rambling on here, Brett, sorry about that. Getting back to international law, if you decide to break away the Western Cape or the Eastern Transvaal or the Gauteng, and you're talking about an area, then tell me in international law, because you can't have a process that is built on your own interpretation and your own gospel
that's what it comes down to.
Yeah, so you have to get back to the international law. And now if you break away Gauteng, or you break away Eastern Cape or Western Cape, now if anybody can give me this answer, and I will really, I'll put this out to Mr. Despalm, and I'll put this out to Mr. Phil Craig, and to the Freedom Front alliances, which more or less makes this a political drive, by the way. I want to put this question to them. Tell me, in international law, how are you going to identify those people in the area as unique, according to international law, by means of their ethnicity, by their culture, language, or religion? Give me one common denominator that actually identified the people that you are breaking away. Otherwise, you are outside of international law, plain and simple.
So what I've been hearing from these parties that you're talking about is all they talk about is that the Western Cape, and we're talking specifically about that, are contributing massively, creating a huge revenue stream, contributing massively towards central government and getting a fraction of that back for their own use. That is what they're basing it on. But that is not the process. That does not feature in the international legal process. So what people are saying, if I understand this now, what people are saying that it's a racial or something like that, what they're actually saying is they don't understand the international process. They don't understand the process of the ULA. It's not the ULA that's saying that, it is the process, the legal process.
Yeah, you hit it on the nail. That's 100%. Because that is exactly what's happening. Either they do not understand international law, or they simply ignore that and chose to break away a piece of the country in the Western Cape, so happens to be, where they know there will be economic benefits. So there's another agenda, and you can't have an agenda when you do secession of people. Brett, what sort of frustrates me is that people sheepishly accept a gospel that is put out there. We're going to break away, and this is possible, and we're going to call a referendum. Incidentally, some people might not know that actually the ULA did call for a referendum, and it's exactly what the Western Cape people are trying to do. We did call for a referendum, but it was part and parcel of the process we followed, because one of the prerequisites, which is also not followed by the Western Cape Independence Group, and I'm not hammering here on people, but I challenge them. If you do not prove without a doubt that you have followed all internal remedial options with the government of the mother country, you are busy with an illegal process. Right. Because remember Catalonia ignored these simple, basic steps that are very much part and critical to starting off. Never mind, going ahead. Before you even start, make sure that the local laws allow for your secession. Secondly, make sure and prove that you have tried your best with the government of the mother country to find an internal remedial option for your people to be self-sufficient, self-determined, to obtain self-determination. Because law also internationally states that these are for instance, when you break away, just like the Western Cape wants to do, the government has all the right to fight that, because they may claim legally that they are not going to divide the country and actually break the borders. You know, that's just my basic lingo. But you can't, they got to protect the integrity of the borders of that separate country. So you come and you've got no legal foothold and just want to break up the country, you will be running into problems with the mother country legally.
Right.
And they have the full right, but they cannot exercise the right. On the other hand, once they have proven that they've actually not come to the table, they did not want to have talks with you and solve the quest for self-determination, then they have no foothold.
Okay.
But
Peter de Beer, thank you very much. This is quite a topic, and I'm sure we'll actually come out with a part 2 fairly soon. So thank you very much for your time in our virtual studio today. And yeah, that's where we're going to close it off today, and we'll see you soon. Thanks, Peter.
Thanks, Brett. Thanks again.
Okay,
Thanks,
bye.
Cheers. Bye.
Bye.